And you hear that? All the way up on the hill. And what's up? Turn me up a little bit. It's our Monday edition of Recap. Arkansas, unfortunately, was not able to come out on top, 52-51. Losers at Oxford, Mississippi. And let's just get right to it. Very poor defensive effort. Very poor. The second time K.J. Jefferson has walked on the football field as a starter, performed winning football offensively. When you score 51 points, you are not supposed to lose, people. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just put it out there. You've heard me on this show talk about that I thought the secondary was a strength. I was so wrong. And when you go back and you really look in depth of this season, there were missed passes against Rice. That should have been a touchdown. Had Thompson started early instead of Clark or Card, who knows where that would have gone. We know that when he got in the game, even though it was late, he did have some success. Georgia Southern, they missed a couple, 3 or 4 long balls that should have been touchdowns. Texas A&M, a newly starting Calzada, where would that have gone? Georgia, you kind of understand. I mean, you knew that was coming, but then you look at Ole Miss. I mean, guys, they're not doing any kind of trick play routes. These are simple go routes, double moves. I mean, it's not going to work. You cannot rush or bring a blitz because you don't have the secondary to get it done. And I'm not trying to be hateful. I think this is a really good team, but they don't have a SEC type of secondary that can cover. And until they get that, I mean, who knows? I really think Bo Nix is going to look like a star. I'm not knocking them. And like I said, this is a good – they got a lot of work to do defensively. I mean, they have a tremendous amount of work to do defense. Got to get tougher. I'm sorry. The ability to be allowed to get blocked, I've watched that over and over and over. They're not being coached like that. It's a toughness issue, an individual issue. To take on a block, come fight through and make a tackle or run around, and so far it's been the C, running around a lot of blocks. I mean, we talk about Hudson Clark getting held, okay, but if you don't turn your shoulders and allow the guy to block you and you engage before he engages, a lot of that stuff don't happen. You know, my grandpa told me a long time ago in football, there's pitchers and there's catchers. And right now, defensively, we're doing a lot of catching. And that's just point blank, period. 1 turnover in 4 games. 16 quarters of football. 1 turnover. They're not being coached like that. It's an individual. You got to make a hit. You got to make plays. Don't just come up and try to shoulder tackle. And I see a lot of that taking place right now. A lot of shoulder tackling. Where they don't coach that. I've always been told you cannot run if your knees don't bend. That means grab legs. Shoulder tackling, where does that come from? Where is that coming from? 99 points given up in the SEC since we've hit conference season. Too many points. 30 a game. Too many points. I mean, what else do you want me to say? I got to put it to you how I see it. And right now, there is a lot of defense. There's a liability on defense. No coverage skills whatsoever. No coverage skills. And that's just keeping it real.
Yeah, I still think we're undersized at that DB position. I think when you look across the board, when you talk about guys like Greg Brooks, we still have not yet reached that SEC defensive back. I think we have to get guys that are more physical. You know, I talked about it earlier this season. You know, even when I was watching spring practice, I said, man, those DBs, you know, they don't look good covering in space. And, you know, I've talked about guys like Fouché that sometimes tend to get over aggressive and play the run, and then sometimes when he goes,
rather than head up, square shoulders, run through the tackle. It's simple stuff. When you see a tight end, Demetrius, coming to block you, don't run backwards at the block. Take it on. I'm not seeing that. I've seen so many of us running around blocks, avoiding contact. Football is a contact sport. There's a lot of deficiencies. KJ Jefferson laid it on the line, played a great game, and outside of the Georgia game, people, this offense has been there week in and week out. Now, we keep talking about Kendall Browse and what he doesn't do, but they've been there. They've been there 4 out of 5 weeks. The other side of the ball being the special teams. Right now, offense has to outscore people. And I mean, put up a lot of points to feel like at this moment you have a chance to win the game.
No, you're absolutely right, Pat. I think, you really can't blame anybody but the defense when you look at the performance that KJ had. Single-handedly, the offense did what they're supposed to do. My coach always told me if the score is 7-0, then the offense has done their job. It's the defense's job not to allow people to score points. And we have a problem allowing people to score points.
These weren't even 2-minute drives, D. These weren't even 2-minute drives when they went out there. It's like KJ and the offense had just had a chance to get a water break, and they got to go back out.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Yep. Calzada, because he was nervous.
And that's crazy to even think about that, to look at the way the SEC as a whole has went down tremendously when you talk about defenses. This was a conference known for its defense and its physicality, and you're starting to see over the years how there's starting to be that gap is getting closed between other conferences. Even when you look amongst college football right now, we've always been talking about parity within the SEC, but I'm starting to see parity outside of the SEC where you're seeing, non-Power 5 teams look better than some of the Power 5 teams that you would think would look a lot better.
Those three-man fronts, Demetrius.
No.
You don't see that in the Big Ten.
No.
You don't see a three-man front.
And I thought Arkansas would have changed that three-man front. I believe that it works in certain scenarios, but I think when you have a team that scouted you and can understand your weaknesses and deficiencies, such as a Georgia and such as Ole Miss, their team, especially when you're talking about the offensive minds that they have to go against, I think you have to switch their defense up. And I'm not saying it's all Barry Odom because, again, it's the execution part of the players as well.
Man, you got to get some tougher football players on defense. It's not Barry Odom. It's not Sam Pittman. It's not – it's not Sam Carter. It's not Sherrier. It's not Ashley. It's the individuals. To stand up and quit getting picked on. They're a liability back here. I'm sorry. I've got to call it like I see it.
So what do you do, Pat? Do you
start playing younger guys? Go find you 4 guys, 6 guys that can actually cover? Like actually cover? I mean, like I said, there's no excuse. Those were simple, flat-out go routes. Simple, flat-out go routes. And when you have safeties that are 12 to 15 yards off the ball, should never happen. Be as deep as the deepest. That's just defense in secondary. But right now, they are a liability to this defense. This team will not go anywhere as far as winning goes until they get that problem solved. Because they can't cover anybody right now. And, I'm calling it like I'm not trying to be bad. Buster Brown is about the best one they have back there. The other ones are clueless. Inside receivers. If I'm the inside safety, I take the inside slant route, not the outside go route. It's just like little stuff. And they're not being coached like that. Sam Carter and Barry Odom are 2 of the best guys to teach back-end play. But they're having to coach what they got. That's why you don't see a lot of blitzes and 4-man fronts, because you can't. You don't have 4 guys in the back end that can hold up.
And you definitely have to have that, especially when you're talking about a 3-man front that sometimes won't always get you the pressure that you need in the SEC, especially with these athletic receivers.
Man, they're not
the guys they're going against.
They are not filling gaps that they should be filling. Hence why running backs are hitting the second level and going, because they're not filling gaps. It's a very soft secondary. It's a very non-physical, soft secondary right now. They're catching rather than pitch. There's pitchers and catchers, guys, and you catch it. Let's be honest. Let's be blatantly honest. I'm being real and honest. I don't come on here to rah-rah. I come on here to tell you what I saw and what's going on at that time. And at this time, it's not a very good defense. It's definitely not a very good secondary. Absolutely not a very good secondary. It's easy pickings on 3rd and 12s and things like that. Easy pickings.
So Pat, what adjustments do you feel need to be made before this weekend we go? I know you're saying, hey, 4 new bodies, 6 new bodies, but
I say learn how to cover. Get tough. Get tough. Take some pride in being a secondary guy. Don't be so scared to come up and initiate contact. I mean, it's the pitching and the catching that's the problem. They're catching. They are allowing themselves to be blocked. Wham, we're holding. We'll fight through it and show something. You won't get blocked if you don't want to get blocked. You won't get held. There's nothing going on. I mean, it's a very soft third level. I'm just going to be honest.
You know, another thing that I've noticed, I think Arkansas just has trouble with mobile quarterbacks. He wasn't very mobile, but he was efficient when he rolled out and ran.
On one of those touchdowns, if the safety fills the gap like we be talking about, that's not a touchdown. On one of those touchdowns where I don't know if it was Day, what are you jumping in the air for? You can make a clean tackle by running through the kid. You jump in the air. The kid's at the 3. You're at the goal, and you jump in the air and kick him in the face, which should have been a penalty. You can't tackle nobody jumping up in the air. That's where the toughness, the physicality is what I'm talking about. This is ridiculous. If you want to play SEC defense to win, and I know Sam Pittman is a tough son of a gun coach, the best that we got. And, I think in the country, they're not coaching them kids to be soft. Sometimes it's a grown man decision. And it's time to start playing some grown man football on that defensive side and quit all the talking. Put up or shut up. Bottom line, put up or shut up.
So what are some of the positive things you felt that Arkansas could have took from this game and going leading up to the Auburn game?
Man, their running backs are prime time. Trey Knox, Warren Thompson, Traylon Burks, Tyson Morris. You got a great set of receivers. You got a tight end that they have to account for now. You got a quarterback that I think is one of the top 3, and we said it before the season. I thought he would be in the top 4. He's proven that he is one of the elite quarterbacks in the SEC, bar none. Still has some improvement on the passing, but all that will come. What he's doing right now, tremendous. Top 3 in the conference. Without a doubt, top 3 in the conference.
You know, I saw a flyer today that had we're the only team in the SEC that has 3 personnels over 300 yards,
right.
That being K.J. Jefferson, Traylon Smith, and Rocket Sanders. And, you know, I always feel Arkansas gets in this pressure mode where they stop running the ball. You know, and they try to force the pass, and
but they really didn't have to pass the ball Saturday if they didn't want to.
They didn't, and that's why I didn't understand why we didn't have methodical drives and why it was so hard to move the ball when sometimes we have the answer. It's just we go away with it trying to do too much, whether that's trying to get trailing the ball. And I can understand you have to find some way to incorporate him in the run game. I'm not saying put him in the backfield and line him up as a running back, but, you know, some of these quick pitches and some of these quick screens that we're giving other guys, we got to give Traylon. Right. You know, I think about that play. What game was that where Tyson threw the block and it was a swing pass to Traylon and he took it 80 yards. It's kind of like we've got away from some of the things that has brought us success.
They got they have enough offensive weapons. That to me, we know what they're going to do. They're going to score points. But can they stop anybody? Is the question. Will it be physical enough? I don't know yet. For right now, I don't know in the SEC. This has not been an SEC defense that's going to win games. I still think they can get 8, but I think it's going to be because they have that good of an offense. Because there's a lot to be fixed on the defense side of the ball. And I think Barry Odom is one of the top defensive coordinators in all of college football. I don't put this on Barry. By no means do I put this on Barry. It's the individual. You got to take pride. Defense is about pride and not letting that guy across from you do anything on you. That's all defense is about. Pride. I saw several former defensive players on social media Saturday talking about it. There's not code red over there right now. 1 turnover in 16 quarters. That's not coaching. That's trying to anticipate on making a play. Nobody's trying to make a play right now, from what I see.
Do you think our defense is possibly banged up? Because I've honestly seen a down play in Catalan. Catalan hasn't looked the same since that Texas A&M game.
Right.
I don't know if it's a shoulder. I don't know what it is, but he has not played up to.
I don't think we
potential.
have the guys, top to bottom defensively, that are considered to be dogs, and play with a certain nastiness and, like I said, a pride on defense. That you're not going to give up a yard, a point, or anything. It's just a pride thing. And I think when you get those guys, when you get 11 or 22 prideful defenders like the Georgia, they got a chance to be special. And I think that's what Coach Pittman and Coach Carter and Odom and that defensive staff are going to do. They will get the players. But, I mean, then Jaden Johnson, he's a guy I think needs to play more at the safety spot. Trent Gordon, when he gets healthy, I think he needs to see the field. But you got to change it up back there. I mean, you've had a lot of problems with this group for years here on campus. And I'm not saying that to be hateful, no disrespect, but the truth is the truth. And right now in the back end is the weakest part of that defense. They cannot cover anybody. And when you give up straight go routes, simple double moves, and an easy wheel route that was clear, could have clearly been defended. It's just, nah. And that's not on Coach Carter or Coach Odom. I mean, come on. Sometimes you just got to call a spade like a spade is, and right now they don't have enough guys that are SEC worthy in that back end to compete.
So let's address signing class. You know, we're approaching. You know, signing class is kind of filled up now that you have early signing day in December. Kids kind of tend to get that out the way. How does Arkansas address some of these issues that they still have with the time remaining left this signing day?
You got some good guys coming in, Jalen, Anthony, Miles Rouser. So your secondary will improve, but you just got to continue to recruit yourself out of it. I mean, Sam said it from day one. We've always talked about it on the show for multiple years. I mean, if you're at Arkansas, you got to recruit yourself out of it, and that's where they are. They have to recruit an SEC level, standard type secondary. They have to. They have to be able to run a four-man front at some point. You got to get better at linebacker. Defensively is the biggest issue of this program, is how do you build depth on that side of the football. True SEC depth, not just a body there, but true SEC caliber of a football player. To where when you rotate your second-team defensive line from your first team, there's not that big of a drop-off. You can get for a four-man rush, and they can't do that right now. So it's got to be a major upgrade in physicality, size, and want to. Because right now, I'm telling you, defensively, the secondary at Arkansas is a big liability.
And, you know, this goes back to where I was saying, you know, I wasn't expecting them to beat Georgia, but this is the very reason why I said they shouldn't beat Georgia, because it would have been premature. It would have been too early, and it would have been a lot of pressure on Sam Pittman to produce right away. And me knowing what I know about football, I know we don't have the program. I'm not even going to say team yet. We don't have the program to sustain that level of success. We're still climbing and still having to, like you say, recruit ourselves out of that. And I'm glad. I wouldn't change that 4-0 start one bit. But that 4-0 start was very, very, very misleading. That I think it kind of hid some of our deficiencies with the teams we played. And, you know, that's kind of the I guess you could say backbreaker with Arkansas.
Right.
We kind of get exposed when we tend to get in SEC play. We look good out of conference. We tend to play up to standards, but as soon as we get into that SEC gauntlet, we kind of tend to fall by the wayside.
And this team should clearly easily be 5-1. I thought they would be 5-1 heading into homecoming weekend with 6-1, 7-1 by the end of the month of October is what I thought. Now, they could end up 6-2, which is not, it's nothing to sneeze at. A very good start considering where you were 2 years ago. But at the same time, that's not going to mask the deficiency that you have in the back end. Your lack of physicality on the defensive side of the football. Your lack of being able to create turnovers on the defensive side of the football. Your inability to stop 20-plus yard plays on the defensive side of the football. These are where you have issues, And until you get that straight, every team is going to pass on Arkansas, Demetrius, because that's where the liability, that's where the weakest links are. And it's clear. It's just point blank clear. There's no way that with the effort that young man did in his home state, he should have walked off with that L. There's just absolutely no way. Absolutely no way. Mackerel only threw 21 passes. But how many 50-yard bombs out of the 14 completions that he had went for touchdown? Probably about 3 or 4 of them. And they were wide open, uncontested. That's not Coach Sam Carter or defense coordinator Barry Odom's problem. You gotta have, like I said, it comes down to self-discipline, self-pride. Now, you've been picked on. You've been punked a little bit. You got to step up. This is what we're going. This is where the secondary and this is what we're going to find out a lot about that side of football at 11 o'clock on Saturday. We're going to find a lot about this football team defensively. I think they'll come out and KJ in that offense. I think they'll just pick up where they left off and continue to score points. But what will this defense do? Do they make Bo Nix look like the SEC Offensive Player of the Week? Who knows? But I'm tired of the catching. I want to see some pitching, and I've been seeing a lot of pitching. A lot of catching going on in the last 2 weeks. No way is Ole Miss more physically tougher than Arkansas, but they were on Saturday because they played that way. And I think that's the difference. I mean, it's got to get tougher on the back end. It's our recap edition. Why don't you tell us what you thought? Shoot some of your quotes. We'd like to hear some of what you fans thought about. Now, I will say, and we'll make a note, I'm very much 1,000, not 100, but 1,000% behind the decision to go for 2. You had no defense. And you wasn't going to have any defense. So, and I like that. Play to win, Sam. I like that. Play to win. We could have played for overtime, but come on now. When was we going to stop somebody? Let's be honest. Never, right? So you had to go for 2. Congrats, Coach. That's the kind of kahunas that I like with my coach. I like having a guy that's going to play to win. I was 1,000% behind it on Saturday, every day after, and twice on Sunday. Give me 2,000%. I was behind that decision. It had to be done because you had no defense. And you had to try to win it when you could. Great 2-minute drill by KJ. Minute 7 seconds, you go down and you stick it in the end zone with 1 second left on the clock. Masterful. Masterful. This guy's going to be the real deal. This guy's got a bright future. Got 2 years left here at Arkansas. Got 6 games left in this season. I mean, KJ's going to put up some astronomical numbers, probably get 8-9 wins, get himself in a rare company with quarterbacks that get to that 8-9 win threshold and have so many years. But I really feel good that, the direction of this offense under KJ Jefferson. And like I said, Saturday was his coming out party, and he played his rear end off, left everything on the field. How will you react, fans, to the challenge from Sam Pittman about showing up and showing out? How will you react? You claim to be that big-time fan, that great fan base. You'll get your chance to show yourself on Saturday. Will there be a sellout? We'll see. I mean, I think they've earned it. I'm tired of watching crowds at 11 o'clock at Ole Miss and Georgia be filled up. Why can't it be filled up in Fayetteville? What's your excuse? We'll find out about this fan base this weekend and how they do appreciate. I mean, are they front runners? Do we talk about being a great fan base and don't show up? We'll find out. I'll be there covering this football team. Got a lot of things that I want to see. I mean, like I said, the biggest question is the defense. It's not even the special teams to me anymore. It's defensively. Probably get a couple block punts. But, you play more defense than I'm going to see somebody punt the ball. I know of. So that's my biggest question mark this week and the weeks going forward. Can they create turnovers and can they guard somebody? That's the biggest things going forward. But I just don't know. I don't know. Just never been more disappointed in the way a defense has played entering conference season. It's like I don't recognize this defense, Demetrius. From the previous weeks, I don't recognize this defense. They're flying around to the ball, but I don't recognize this defense.
I don't know. I think a little bit of the success got to their head a little bit.
Yeah, I think they are smelling themselves a little bit.
It kind of got to them a little early, and I think the work that they were putting in before when they were trying to prove certain things, it
Right.
I think Sam Pittman personally has to find out how to get these guys back focused because I think there is a lack of focus primarily on the defensive side of the ball.
Woo.
Got to figure out how to
A
get
little lack of focus, lack of physicalness, lack of discipline, lack of want to. That's what I see.
honestly, just giving my opinion, I think to a certain extent it went to Sam as well. When you talked about, well, now I think we're gonna have to go back to practicing the full amount of time. Those are things when you start kind of winning, you kind of sit back and relax on, and you might hit practice 10 minutes early when you maybe should have ran them 10 minutes.
Right.
And I think those are little things that Sam Pittman saw himself do, and that he had to correct himself to say, hey, I myself as a head coach have to get back to some of the things that I was doing at the beginning of the year, so I as a head coach can still show these guys that I'm just as hungry as I am
Right.
now. I think he's gonna get it right.
All right, great offensive line play from the offensive line this week to rebound, come back, bounce back from last week's performance. First, I think, against the best defensive line you're going to face in college football. It's in Athens. That's why they're the new number one team in the country, because they should have been. Not surprised. Sometimes things just have to happen, and then things fall into place. But this football team, and like I said, we'll see how they respond. We'll just see how they respond defensively, because that was a very embarrassing performance. I could have saw with Georgia, but with Ole Miss, nah. And I know Lane Kiffin, and I know Libby. I get it. Libby, or however you call it, the offensive court, I get it. But Arkansas is supposed to win that football game, and should have won that football game. The one thing that their secondary did that ours couldn't is they knocked down a few passes and covered. Our touchdowns that we were getting from our receivers, they were very well cut. They were tough touchdowns. Or, KJ had to put him in some spots. That one with Thompson. The real nice RPO to Trey Knox, to be able to read that. The little 2-yard swing pass to Traylon Knox that goes up the sideline to tie it. They had to do some wrinkles, but on the flip side, man, he was like, hey, you go down the seam, I'm going to throw you the football, and then you're going to score. Nobody's going to cover you. So on the count of 3, this is what we're doing. And that's what it seemed like. It was just pitch and catch, like they were on the sand lot just playing 7-on-7 at times. It's what it seemed like to me. Just don't understand. But you got 11 o'clock, homecoming, Donald W. Reynolds versus the Auburn Tigers coming in here off a loss to Georgia, a very convincing loss to Georgia. How does it shake out? What happens? Arkansas comes in as 4-point favorites. But that's based on K.J. Jefferson, Traylon Burks, Traylon Smith, and Raheem Sanders. Solely based on those 4 individual numbers. I'm real curious to see how this thing goes on Saturday. Real curious to see what, the talk from the players this week in our Zooms. Want to see some humbleness. Demetrius. Want to see how they, have they been brought down? Now, this is a top 25 team. I will say that as well. This is the 17th ranked. Yeah, they're a top 20 team with the leadership of number 1, so I don't question that at all. But I'm just real curious as to how this thing is going to play out this Saturday in Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium.